Good afternoon. Since mainstream media is not reporting this hugely interesting court case that has been filed on April 8th against Justin Trudeau, the former Prime Minister of Canada, I thought I help broadcasting the issue a bit or bring it to the light. So basically, a certain person named Jeff Brown on Twitter, known as @JeffBrown and Real, says that I just sued the Toronto Star for failing to publicly reveal information shared by the RCMP. Justin Trudeau watched underage porn. Yeah, so that's child porn. Yeah, so I checked the court case files. ChatGPT was very much into defending the fact that this could not be true because mainstream media outlets didn't report the issue. Those are probably funded by the same ones that debunked and fake news the COVID facts. Yeah. So just to say that here is from the court case file. So it was filed on April 8th. The number of the court file is written. There's a stamp that should have been there according to ChatGPT to verify the realness of the whole thingy. And addresses are there and all that. So he says, like, I'm a Canadian author who became connected with Sophie Grégoire Trudeau, February 2017, blah, blah, blah. And then he says, I ultimately made 3 efforts to disconnect from her. As a result of the way in which those attempts to disconnect from her and their political world were responded to, I felt it necessary to reach out to a number of investigative journalists in Canadian media beginning in January 2021. Full COVID time. On about October 21st, 2021, I met with a prominent Toronto Star investigative journalist named Robert Cribb to discuss the situation. We met at the Beaches Library on Queen Street East and walked to and along Kew Beach before sitting down together at a picnic table. During this conversation, I agreed to grant him exclusivity with respect to my story. And he shared some information that is fundamental to this claim, something that I found quite disturbing. He let me know that the Star, so the Toronto Star, the newspaper that he works for, had recently been told by the RCMP that Justin Trudeau was watching kiddie porn, also known as underage pornography or child porn, on his devices. He explained that the RCMP knew this because it was one of their responsibilities to monitor his phones and computers to ensure that they are not compromised by foreign power. This was not the first time that a Canadian journalist had shared controversial things with me about political leadership, but it was unique in that they had received the information from a law enforcement directly. We did not get into why the RCMP hadn't brought this information public themselves. I assumed that it was similar to whatever interactive restrictions had been placed on them with respect to the Lavalin affair, but that is just conjecture. For whatever reason, they handed this over to the Toronto Star to bring public, and when the handoff occurred, it became the newspaper's responsibility and duty to share it with the Canadians, which clearly didn't happen. So Justin Trudeau, yeah, beside all COVID controversy aside, and his dire implication in the implementation of a totalitarian medical dictatorship, and the fact that he is a World Economic Forum puppet, yeah, the Klaus Schwab organization that is very much involved in many national political meetings. And so the Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte, now the NAVO head of chief or whatever it is called, he's known in Holland as Pinocchio, and the book of Klaus Schwab called The Great Reset, yeah, he was once asked about that by Gideon van Meijeren, and then he didn't have any active memory about that anymore. And also, yeah, the thank you letter for the content that I found extremely interesting, that was Mark Rutte, I'm paraphrasing. There was no active memory about that anymore. Anyway, so that same guy is now the NAVO head of state chief, whatever it is. So Trudeau, just like Macron, are part of the World Economic Forum. They talk about digitalization of society, great reset, and very much along the lines of what happened during COVID. What a coincidence. And yeah, so also currently the Bilderberg group is taking place. I'm not sure if Trudeau is invited. I'm quite sure he was in previous meetings when he was still a prime minister. And now the whole thing is being mixed with the entertainment industry, because He's the boyfriend of Katy Perry. And Katy Perry, before was married to Orlando Bloom. They have a daughter called Daisy, and I personally am convinced that she is under a certain kind of mind control setting. If you look at, so for sure, she said herself that she sold her soul to the devil in an interview, and of course that was a joke, and also that she would very much like to be a member of the Illuminati, but since it doesn't exist, you know, yeah. Anyway, so there's also an incident during one of her concerts that she starts rolling, it was in Nashville, that she started rolling with her eyes, and oh master, I don't feel so well, and then she collapsed on stage. I also remember some sort of show thingy that it looked like her body took over and had to perform a split, and then there was something with a fishy smell or whatever. That guy, that I think he was a husband of Gwen Stefani, and he was also on some show with Ariana Grande. I think he's I'm not sure if it was Gwen Stefani's husband. Anyway, just to say that he, some sort of country singer kind of person, and then yeah, he was in that specific setting, and honestly, I find it very worrisome that they both participated in the World Economic Forum kind of meetings, and combine that with the whole thing about the child porn. Yeah, it reminds me a bit of Pizzagate, to be honest. You know, also these main characters involved, Epstein Island and all that. So just to say that this is the news of today, fresh from the press, because the mainstream media is not reporting about this. So I think let's help out a bit, since I don't have anything better to do, sort of.